Hi, happy people. Welcome to another wonderful day of World History 101. This is going to be chapter 8, and we are going to cover the Rome portion. The Greece portion has already been covered. So this is going to pick up on Rome. Rome from kingdom to republic. So Rome was founded in 753 BCE. It's a small city-state ruled by a king. So Rome has a monarchy. In 509 BCE, the king was dethroned and a republic was formed. A republic is a form of government in which delegates represent the interest of various citizens. Under the Republican Constitution, Rome started to establish itself as the dominant power in the Mediterranean. Prior to the Romans becoming the dominant power in the Mediterranean and in Italy, we had a group of people called the Etruscans, Etruscans, the Etruscans. So again, prior to the Romans, the Etruscans were they were the dominating group on the Italian peninsula. When we look at Rome, we look at Romulus. We know that Romulus was the first king, and Rome clearly is named after Romulus. The Roman Republic and its constitution. That's our next section. So the Roman Constitution gives executive responsibilities to two consuls, Consuls. Consuls have civil and military power. The consuls are elected by the patrician, Patricians, the patrician class. The patrician class is essentially the Senate class and their family members. So consuls are elected by the patrician class, the Senate class, and they hold their positions for 1 year, the consuls do. When we look at members of the Senate, known as the patrician class, they hold their positions for life. However, that consul position only holds power for 1 year. And in times of crisis, they can have a person who's appointed as an absolute dictator, and that absolute dictator will have power for 6 months. All right, so the Roman society is broken up into two classes. We've already talked about the patricians. The patricians are the Senate members and their families. We also have the plebeian class. So the plebeian class is the group that's used to refer to commoners like small farmers, artisans, etc. These are the everyday people of Roman society. As I stated earlier, in times of crisis, the Romans appoint a dictator for 6 months. And the Republican Constitution allows Rome to maintain a relatively stable society throughout most of the Republic's history. Because the consuls and the Senate represent their own interests, so because the patrician class represents its own interest, there's constant conflict between the patrician and the plebeian class. Plebeian, the plebeians. Let's talk about the struggle of the orders. The struggle of the orders represents a struggle for power between the patrician and the plebeian class. Around 509 BCE, I think it's plebeians. Let's Google it real fast. One moment. I don't want to go through this whole video and not be saying this word correctly. In my head, I keep hearing plebeian, so let's listen.
Plebeian.
Ha!
Plebeian.
Plebeian. So let's stop saying plebeian and let's start saying
plebeian.
Yeah, good. All right, so you got two classes in the Senate. You got two classes in Roman society. You got the plebeian and you got the patrician class. I messed myself up. Let me get my life together, people. The struggle is real some days.
Plebeian.
Okay, I'm right. Plebeian. Plebeian. Let's say it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Plebeian. 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 Cool. All right. So struggle of the orders, 509 BCE. We have the plebeian class rallying for equal social and political rights. The fact that the plebeians provide heavy military service in the Roman army means that they have some negotiating leverage to have their demands met by the patrician class. The patricians are going to reluctantly accept the plebeians' demands for equality, and they're going to grant the plebeians the right to assemble, the right to have the laws written down. So laws are going to be written down in what becomes known as the Code of 12 Tables or the Code of 12 Tablets. It's the same thing. It just means that Roman law is going to be written down. So now everyone can be held accountable, regardless of socioeconomic standing in Roman society. So the plebeians are granted the right to assemble. They are going to have laws written down and put on display, which means now there's going to be consistency in adjudicating the law. They're going to have the right to elect officials. So remember, the patricians, the Senate members and their families, when they start to make laws, they are only going to make laws that affect and benefit the patrician class. They don't make laws that benefit the plebeians. So the plebeians are going to get the right to elect officials, and these officials are called tribunes. The tribunes represent plebeian interest in Roman government. Tribunes, Tribunes, they have veto power and they have the right to intervene in all political matters. They have the right to appeal the death sentence. They have the right to intermarry with patricians. And we're going to see debt slavery abolished. The rights of the plebeian class are going to continue to grow, and by 300 BCE, they're allowed to hold important offices that had once been created by the patrician class. In 287 BCE, we're going to see the struggle for equality between plebeians and the patrician class come to an end with the Concilium Plebis. The Concilium Plebis is going to become a recognized constitutional body in which all citizens are bound by those laws. So think about it like this. In the past, when the patrician class made laws, those laws applied to everyone, patrician and plebeians, commoners. However, with the tribunes, and even though the plebeians were allowed to make laws, those laws were only applicable to other plebeians. They did not extend to the patrician class, the Senate members and their families class. So 287 BCE, this Concilium Plebis, it's going to mean that regardless of who creates the laws, regardless of whether or not it's plebeian or patricians who create the laws, everyone in Roman society is bound by those laws. Let's talk about the expansion of the Republic. So between the 4th and 2nd century BCE, Rome is going to start consolidating power on the Italian peninsula. Ultimately, they're going to emerge as the predominant power in Italy. Roman success is based partially on military efficiency and their use of generous policies toward their conquered populations. Rome allows their conquered populations to govern their own internal affairs. But there's the catch, there's a caveat. So the caveat, yes, we're going to conquer you, and we'll allow you to govern yourself, but you have to provide military service to Rome. These conquered populations also aren't allowed to enter hostile alliances against Rome. So like sometimes you see that saying or hear that saying, if they're my enemy, they're your enemy too. It's that type of concept. Like Rome doesn't want their conquered populations being bedfellows with their enemies. And that's just because Rome's worried about alliances being formed and the people joining together to take Rome's power and preeminence on the Italian peninsula. So some conquered populations, so We've got Rome is successful because of their generous policies toward their conquered populations. Their generous policies toward their conquered populations. Military success is why they're successful. Conquered populations are allowed to govern their own internal affairs as long as they provide military service to Rome and don't enter into hostile alliances with against Rome, like with Rome's enemies. Some conquered populations are even allowed to gain Roman citizenship. This is especially going to anger the plebeians, and that's before like the struggle of the orders. Because before the struggle of the orders, the plebeian class didn't have Roman citizenship. So here Rome is extending Roman citizenship to conquered people, like people who aren't even Roman. And normally that extension of Roman citizenship is only going to extend to people on the Italian peninsula. Cool. All right. So the Romans consolidate their hold over Italy by granting political, legal, and economic privileges of citizenship to conquered populations. Rome offered citizenship to the conquered people of Italy, and they demanded that those Italian subjects provide soldiers to boost their manpower and aid in their military success. The Romans are not extending citizenship to non-Italians or people in like distant lands. Carthage. So Carthage emerges in 270 BCE, and they emerge as Rome's rival in dominance of the Western Mediterranean. Carthage, we've already talked about Carthage, but we call them by a different name. Initially, when we talked about Carthage, we referred to them as the Phoenicians. These are the same people. Same people. We're just calling them by a different name. So the Carthaginians, 270 BCE, they emerge as Rome's rival for dominance of the Western Mediterranean. The Carthaginians dominate trade in the Western Mediterranean. They are wealthier than Rome. They have a great navy, which Rome doesn't have because Rome has never fought on water. Carthage geographically is located in a prime position to dominate Mediterranean trade. We know that between 264 and 202 BCE, Rome fought two wars between the Carthaginians and Rome fought two wars between the Carthaginians and Rome. No, Rome fought two wars against the Carthaginians. It's the same thing, but the sentence was messed up. Rome is fighting what we call the Punic Wars. The Punic Wars are between the Carthaginians and Rome. And it's all about dominating commerce or trade in the Western Mediterranean. Rome is going to win, and they ultimately gain their first overseas territories, and they start to dominate trade in the Western Mediterranean. From republic to empire. During the 1st century BCE and the 1st century CE, the republic is replaced by a centralized imperial government. When we look at imperial expansion and domestic problems, land distribution problems are going to cause political and social tensions. Conquered land falls into the hands of the wealthy elite. The wealthy elite are going to create these large estates that we're going to refer to as latifundia. Latifunda. Latifundia are these huge estates, and they're very similar to plantations. During the 2nd and the 1st centuries BCE, relations between the classes, the social classes in Rome, are going to become so strained that we're going to see 3 civil wars. All right, first Civil War, don't need you to know. We're going to talk about the 2nd and 3rd Civil Wars. So the 2nd Civil War involves a dude named Julius Caesar, and it's Caesar versus the Senate. So let's talk about Julius Caesar briefly, and then we'll talk about his involvement in the Civil War. So Julius Caesar, you know him because he is featured in one of Shakespeare's most famous poems, right? Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar recognizes the need for social reform. He sought policies that sought to ease the suffering of the poor. We know he conquers Gaul and he turns his personal army. See, that's the thing about Roman society. These patrician senators, they had their own personal armies. So when they got upset, what they would do is they would raise an army, just like a government would raise an army. So Julius Caesar turns his personal army against Rome in the Second Civil War. He fights against a guy named Pompey, Pompey. And Pompey represents the Senate. So basically, this is what happens. The Senate tries to force Caesar to disband, like get rid of, eliminate his personal army. And Caesar's like, bruh, no. So Caesar declares war on Pompey and the Senate in 49 BCE. Caesar wins and he takes the title of dictator. He declares himself dictator. And mind you, it's like D4L. That's how I refer to it. So when he names himself dictator, it's not the sense of dictator like we talked about earlier, where they're dictator for 6 months. No, Caesar names himself dictator for life. That's what he does. He names himself dictator, and that's how he did it. Like, he was like, I'm dictator for life. I feel like he should have, even if he didn't. Whatever. All right. Names himself dictator. He redistributed land to his supporters and veterans of his armies. He extends Roman citizenship. So we talked about the fact that he conquered Gaul, but he also extends Roman citizenship to the people of Gaul. And then we know he dies, right? Like March 15th. So March 15th is known as the Ides of March. So we know in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the whole time, like all these people are like approaching Caesar and they're like, beware of the Ides of March. Beware of the Ides of March. Beware of the Ides of March. All that means is watch your back, sir. You better watch your back. Even in the shower, even at picnics. If you've never seen Money Talks, that is a direct quote from Chris Tucker talking to Charlie Sheen. You better watch your back. Even in the shower, even at picnics. That's basically what the people were telling Julius Caesar. And that's because everyone but Caesar kind of knew that he was going to get stabbed in the Senate. So Caesar goes to the Senate on the Ides of March because he's hard-headed, and he gets stabbed to death by all of these conspirators. And then his friend even stabbed him, like Brutus. Like at the end, you know, he's like, hey, too, Bruce, hey. And that was like the stab wound that took him out because he was my friend, Brutus. Like, shucks. I didn't see that coming. Like, then we get the third. I messed that up. We get the third Civil War. So third Civil War is going to be between Octavian and Mark Antony. Caesar's nephew's name is Octavian. And he hears through his mother, he hears about the killing, the assassination of Julius Caesar. And he's going to act accordingly. He has to come and avenge his uncle's death. So he comes home and he fights against Mark Antony. He wins, and Octavian is going to become the new ruler. Octavian's name is going to be changed by the Senate. The Senate is going to rename Octavian Augustus. So Augustus means prosperity. So the Senate renames Octavian Augustus. Octavian/Augustus, which means prosperity. We've already said that. He reorganizes the military system and he creates a new army with commanders who owe allegiance to him. He develops a permanent dictatorship that replaces the republic, and he ushers in 250 years of Roman peace and stability. That 250 years of Roman peace and stability is referred to as Pax Romana. So Pax Romana, 250 years of Roman peace and stability. This is going to be the largest period of peace ever known in the West. He creates a constitution that gives him unlimited power. That's Octavian or Augustus. Like, that's what he does. Let's talk about economy and society in the Roman Mediterranean. I probably should have split this up, but it's fine. I should have broke it up like I always do. Let's talk about economy and society in the Roman Mediterranean. So pay attention to the profit from Mediterranean trade that's going to allow Rome to develop the aqueducts. So the aqueducts are important because these are like canals, very similar to the qanats that are associated with the Persian Empire in chapter 5. The aqueducts are going to bring fresh water to Rome from the neighboring mountains. As you look at Roman society, pay attention to the fact that Rome is definitely a patriarchal society. Under that section entitled Greek Philosophy and Religions of Salvation, I would definitely pay attention to the importance of roads as they relate to the spread of religion. Christianity is going to become the official religion of the Roman Empire. The most influential Hellenistic philosophy in Rome is Stoicism. In our last podcast, I think we talked about in chapter 8, Greece, the earlier portion of this chapter. We talked about the Epicureanism, skepticism, cynicism, and Stoicism. And we said of those philosophies, Stoicism was the most important in the Hellenistic world. Stoicism is also going to be the most important philosophy in Rome. And remember, anytime we talk about something being Hellenistic, all that means is that it is influenced by Greek culture. Cool. Judaism and early Christianity. So we know that Christians formed their community around Jesus, who's seen as a savior. Jesus taught devotion to God and love for fellow humans, but he appeared to threaten Roman rule in Palestine, and that's definitely going to upset Roman administrators. As a result, Jesus is going to be crucified, but doesn't matter if you crucified Jesus, because even though you kill the body, you cannot kill the movement. Hallelujah. He's crucified. Like I said, crucifixion does not stop the movement, people. Others are going to continue on in the traditions of Jesus. One of these people who continues on in the traditions of Jesus is a guy named St. Paul. Paul is the guy who was like on that road to Damascus, and he experienced a conversion, experienced a change. St. Paul is huge in Christianity because he's often referred to as the unofficial second founder of Christianity. And that's because he does so much to spread Christianity throughout the region. Really liberal and urban teachings of Christianity. Christianity is one of those religions that was appealing to people because it was egalitarian. And it's egalitarian not only in the sense of it welcomes all socioeconomic groups, but also that there's an egalitarian notion between the sexes. So males and females can play roles, equal roles in Christianity. Cool. All right, lovies. This is the conclusion of chapter 8, Rome. I hope you enjoyed this learning experience. I hope you're staying on top of your quizzes and assignments that are due. Have a great day. Love you unconditionally. Bye.